Welcome back to Sunday Vibes, one and all. We're back in the pub, and joining me in the hot seat today is the man, it's the myth, it's the eyebrow legend, Michael McSluggin. Look at the size of him, what a boy. And Patrick Van Straten as well. Who wants him here? Probably everybody. First question anyway comes from Cameron Ballock. He says, do you think it's a good thing for players to have agents like Mino Raiola or Jorge Mendes? Pato, why don't you lead us off with this one, because it's quite an in-depth question.
I think generally I'm in favour of these super agents. The clubs hate them, and I think that's kind of a good thing, because basically a super agent takes money from clubs and gives it to players, and I think players should have more power. I think they should be better paid, and I'd rather that money went to the players who are actually making stuff happen on the pitch rather than like the board, who don't really do anything. They just collect a check. On the other hand, we have seen some moves which don't feel like they're in the players' best interest. So Ruben Neves going off to Wolves.
Dodgy.
That feels really dodgy. That seems like a Jorge Mendes kind of needs a little bit of a paycheck. And we've seen him basically rip clubs up and just stuff them with trash. So we saw it happen with Valencia. Like, Gestifoot clients were just rammed into that club. They had so much money going out in wages every week. And now Valencia, which is one of the great clubs of Spanish football, has kind of gone down the toilet. So, I don't know. It's a little bit of both, I think.
Yeah, I agree. What do you think, Mikey?
Yeah, I do agree with Pat on that as well. But the one flip side, I guess, from giving players power is that it can sometimes murky the waters in terms of the relationship between the players and the fans. Like, I think the most recent example we've seen is with Donnarumma at AC Milan.
Yeah.
Obviously offered massive wages and captaincy as well, and turned that down, because or partly because of his agent putting pressure on him to try and get a better deal. And obviously, I mean, I'm sure time will heal those wounds very quickly, but yeah, it does have that flip side. And also, we talk about agents getting their players in trouble. Jorge Mendes as well has a pretty tax for this summer. Including Mourinho, who else?
Ronaldo is in there, I believe. Falcao was in there for a while before he left Jorge Mendes' thing. I think my biggest problem with Jorge Mendes in particular, Mino Raiola not so much. I think I agree with your point on that. Mino Raiola just tries to get the best deal for his clients, and often he does. You've seen it with Pogba, Zlatan, Mkhitaryan, all rinsing Manchester United for money. Same with Lukaku. Now he's getting the best deal for Donnarumma. I know that Milan fans are pissed off, but at the end of the day, his job is to represent his clients to the best of his ability, and he's got an extra £100,000 or extra 50k a week out of AC Milan, so why not do that? I think my biggest problem with Jorge Mendes is that, like you said, he doesn't care about his clients' interests unless they're superstar clients like Ronaldo, and he doesn't particularly care about players' interests, and he also has a lot of fingers in a lot of pies. Jorge Mendes is fairly well known, has a lot of money in a lot of Chinese consortiums that have taken over clubs. So, for instance, one of the major consortiums that have taken over a club recently have taken over at Wolves. Jorge Mendes is a part owner in that. He's also a part owner of the manager, and he's the manager's agent. And then you see Ruben Neves go to that team. You see other Porto clients go to that team. That, to me, worries me. That's too much power for an agent to have. I'm surprised there's not laws or rulings that you can't be an agent to a club, a manager and a player, because then you are effectively owning that club. The board can't do anything about you. You're like a bacteria that's living and taking a chunk of the manager's wage, taking a chunk of the player's wage, making that player do things for that club, making that club sign certain players. That, to me, concerns me. He's effectively a part owner of Wolves, and I don't think that should be allowed. But it'd be interesting to hear what you guys think. Do agents have too much power in the modern game, or are they just doing their job? Why don't you let us know in the comments below. Rosh64 sent in this question. Would you rather have Sanchez or Sergio Aguero playing in your team? That was a bloody difficult question, but McCubbin, I know you've come armed with some stats, as I can see here.
I have indeed.
Reel them off, big man. Reel them off.
I will. So, comparing these two maestros up front, Alexis, 0.7 goals per game. That's compared to Aguero's 0.8 goals per game last season. 0.3 assists for Sanchez per 90. 0.1 for Aguero. 2.2 chances created for Alexis compared to 1.2 chances created. 3.6 shots for Alexis compared to 5.2 shots, and then 2.2 shots inside the box, 3.8 shots.
Numbers
inside the box.
coming at you here.
Yeah, this is all much of a muchness really. But for me, the way that I see it, their performances last season. Also considering that Alexis got 24 goals compared to Aguero's 20 last season. Considering that Aguero takes a lot more shots, actually it seems that, I don't know, for me anyway, Sanchez seems to be the more clinical striker, at least last season, and does create more. Was it something like 10 assists he got last season? So he was involved with so many goals. So on current form, I feel like I would take Sanchez in my team over Sergio Aguero.
Yeah, I would as well. And one of the biggest reasons, I think, alongside those stats, I agree, he's definitely more of a creator, is that injury record. That injury record for Sergio Aguero is a little bit of a black mark against his name if you were to sign him, in my opinion. I know Alexis Sanchez is probably going to be burnt out soon. Let's face it, he has played so much football. He hasn't had a summer off in years and years and years. And I think that, for me, he's a more versatile player. I think one of the keys to modern football is tactical fluidity on the pitch. If you shift from a 3 up front to a single man up front or a 2 up front, I think Sanchez does that far easier on the pitch without having to make a substitution than Sergio Aguero does. I think Sergio Aguero is an out-and-out striker. If you ask Sergio to play on the left or in the hole, I don't think he could do it. I think Sanchez up front, in the hole, on the left, probably even on the right, not so sure about him out there, but I think that part of his game, the injury record and last season's statistics make me take Alexis Sanchez.
It's interesting that you talk about his positions, because I actually think that Alexis is better on the right. That his last season at Barcelona, he played there. When he plays on the left, he's quite predictable because he cuts in on his right
all the time.
And he's got no left foot at all, whereas Aguero is lethal with his head, with both feet. I mean, the thing is, if you were to buy one of those players now, then you're not just saying who's better now, you're saying who's the better bet going forward. Yeah. And I think, like you said, because of Alexis's huge amount of football by this point in his career, he might just burn out in a couple of seasons. And what we don't know is if when his pace goes, when his energy goes, whether he'll be able to adapt his game to still be a useful player. Sergio Aguero gets injured every season, and bad injuries, ankle injuries, knee injuries, hip injuries. And every time he comes back, and he immediately starts scoring. So he is a guy who, whether he's at 100% or not, can still contribute to your team.
Yeah.
He is a little bit older, but I think that is kind of balanced out by the way that Sanchez has played. And so, I don't know, I think I maybe go for Aguero, but since Aguero arrived in the Premier League, I've loved watching him play. He's never been in the Premier League team of the season, despite the fact he's clearly deserved it several times. He's won them 2 titles, and I just think, I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying I'd swap Sanchez for Aguero, but I think that strikers are harder to come by in the market at the moment than wingers. There are fewer world-class centre-forwards around than wingers, so I'd probably want to take Aguero and a slightly worse winger rather than Sanchez and a slightly worse striker, if that makes sense.
So there we have it, but who would you select? Would you go for Sanchez or Aguero? There's a poll above my head voting it, for goodness sake. Josh J has the next question, and he says, who is the best England player of all time? That's a hard question because we can't really give tight analysis of the 60s and the 50s football because we simply didn't watch enough of it. The likes of Bobby Moore, the likes of Bobby Charlton, exceptional footballers, granted, but you can't analyse someone's game from YouTube highlights clips. So I think we ignore them. I think we say, look, Charlton and Moore on a pedestal, fantastic players, but we look at the modern era. For me, I think there's an argument to be made that Ashley Cole's right up there, consistently the best left back in the world for a long time. I think did it in an England shirt as well. But Wayne Rooney, how do you argue against Wayne Rooney?
I mean, it's hard to, isn't it?
Yeah.
Would you go for him as well as a United fan?
I would. It's a difficult one because I think of like my lifetime, Rooney is without a doubt the best English player to.
But in an England shirt, is it?
But that's the thing. In an England shirt, it's a more difficult one. I think Rooney obviously, went missing in a few tournaments, but a lot of England players did. A lot of people would argue that maybe Gerrard was a more consistent performer in tournaments for England. Even Lampard earlier on was actually a very big player. But it's really difficult. I'm truly stumped.
Pat, who are you going to go for?
I kind of feel like English fans don't deserve Rooney. Because as somebody who doesn't care about the England team, I always think he's an amazing player and his career has been underrated. I mean, the greatest goal scorer that England's ever produced, or has produced, is going to be Alan Shearer.
Over Owen?
Yeah.
I know. In terms of his goal record, it's better, but in terms of actual goal scoring ability, I'm not sure I've seen many footballers on planet Earth better than Owen on their day.
But Alan Shearer just scored and scored forever. I mean, outscored Henry and Aguero and everyone and Van Nistelrooy by just such a long way. But yeah, maybe he didn't have his greatest performances for England. I'm not really sure.
I remember that Lineker got the golden boot at the '86 World Cup as well, didn't he? So as a striker, Lineker's got to be up there.
I tell you what, Rio's a great shout.
Rio Ferdinand
and even someone like Gary Neville. But Ashley Cole, I think, Ashley Cole is maybe the only one who you look at him and you say, you know what, for 10 years, he was arguably the best in his position in the world.
Yeah.
I'm not sure you can say that of any other English player.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be between Wayne Rooney and Ashley Cole of our era, for sure. I think Wayne Rooney just nicks it, though, for me, mainly because he's taken home the record ever England goal scorer statistics. So on paper, he just nicks it, and domestically as well. Personally, I think he had a better career than Ashley Cole. I think Ashley Cole's dwindled far too early. I think Ashley Cole still had football to give when he was playing for Roma and in the Roma reserves, and then went to LA Galaxy and flopped out there as well. So I still think he had football to give. At least, you look at Rooney, how he's gone to Everton, the step down is far, far lower than playing for Roma's reserve team and for LA Galaxy.
But arguably it's easier for a striker to maybe become a poacher again, which Rooney has done at points in his career, than basically Ashley Cole was originally a very good left back, and then over the course of his career, the left back role got more and more demanding. Fullbacks, so much is required of them now physically.
Very good point.
That then, as you're kind of hitting 30, if every year you're getting tired more easily and you're less fit, and every year your role is getting harder, then you're going to drop off a little bit more steeply. But I mean, it's hard to argue with Wayne Rooney.
Yeah, I agree. We're going to go for Wayne Rooney.
Yeah,
sure.
Unanimous.
Avim H has the next question. He says, do you think Lionel Messi will win the World Cup with Argentina next year? Of course, Jorge Sampaoli taking over the side, and in his first game playing a 2-3-4-1 formation, which is unheard of since about 1905. Obviously, it was against Singapore. They won 6-0 though. I don't think they will. I don't think Messi will win it next year. I think they come close, but I think there are better teams in Europe than Argentina right now. I think there are 2 or 3 better teams in Europe right now. In fact, Spain, Germany and France, in my opinion, all have a more rounded squad than Argentina. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with you there. But I think also that was actually the case at the last World Cup as well. Like, I mean, when going into 2014, I still thought that Spain were going to maybe get to the semis. Obviously, Germany won it in the end. France, I guess, weren't quite at the same level, but I still thought there was a real wealth of really, really good squads going into 2014, and actually in the end a lot of them were quite disappointing, and Argentina actually came through 2014 partly because they had one of the most solid defences, which is something that's not, like you said, it's not usually something that they're really known for as much. And I guess this is the thing with Sampaoli, and I guess I'm agreeing with you a bit here that such an attacking manager depends on how the next World Cup is, but will he be able to kind of coach his defence as well as they were in 2014? I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I think the old quote still stands that attack gets you headlines, defence wins you trophies. And I think that when it comes down to it, Argentina's lets them down slightly.
Yeah, I mean the defence certainly isn't as good. When you look at like France and Germany and Spain, they've got depth absolutely everywhere. But I do think Sampaoli's the best manager in international football.
I was about to say the exact same thing, by a long chalk as well.
And also he's taken scalps before. He did it with Chile. They beat Spain at the last World Cup comfortably, and the Chile squad was nowhere near as good as this Argentina squad. He's also overperformed with Sevilla. So I do think that if you have a pressing system. This is generally in football. If you have a pressing system, then it allows you to overperform your talent because basically the system gives players security. They have a limited role within the system. They just have to do what they're told. There's not so much improvisation. Now at international level, I think that will probably be even truer because nobody presses at international level because managers simply don't get enough time with the players to teach them their system. So if you can get them playing with the kind of Sevilla press from this last season, I don't know. I just think they can outscore you. I think they could just beat you 6-5. They don't give a shit.
It would be glorious to see Messi win a World Cup as well. One team that is slightly left field that I think stand a chance is Italy. It's the first time I remember an Italian team with a decent striker in a long time.
Sure.
I think Belotti's a really exciting talent. They've probably going to be the last World Cup you're going to see that Juventus back three operating in Bonucci, Barzagli and Chiellini. Is Buffon retired?
It looks like he might see it out, but if he goes...
Let's face it, if he doesn't, they've got Donnarumma to back him up as well. And also, I thought one of the key factors as to why they didn't perform quite as well at the last Euros was Marco Verratti being absent. I think Marco Verratti makes the 2018 World Cup and Italy suddenly become a very dangerous prospect alongside Spain, Germany, France and Argentina as well. But who do you think's going to win the 2018 World Cup? Can Messi finally do it? Let us know your thoughts in the comments right now. Thank you and good night. Next question comes from Gregory Townsend. He says, with Chelsea missing out on Lukaku, who should they go for? Harsh question, McCubbin. Have you got any opinions on the subject?
I mean, it looks. Some reports are suggesting that Aubameyang, they might be in for Aubameyang.
Good move or not?
Yeah, I mean, I think Aubameyang would definitely guarantee goals for them. I don't think. I wouldn't have doubts about him being able to perform in the Premier League. But I think that there's a question also to be said about Batshuayi, though. I mean, I think he was quite underrated last season. Actually, did perform very well when they played him. So if they are going to get in another big striker, then what does that mean for him? Because he obviously, he's more than good enough to be just sitting on the bench for another season.
Yeah, I agree. You really like Batshuayi, don't you, Pato?
Yeah, I mean, he's like a big physical guy.
But is he going to win you the league as a striker?
Are any of these guys going to? I mean, like I like Aubameyang a lot. He's actually more of a poacher, I think, than people think. But I love Morata. Morata would make sense to me because he's like a long-term investment. But the real question is, are any of these guys an upgrade on Diego Costa? Any of these guys that we're talking about?
I really don't understand the handling of the Diego Costa situation at all.
And he fits their team so well. He's so good. He can create. He can run wide. He's strong. He's fast. I just don't understand it. If you're gonna replace him as a 28-year-old centre forward with someone like Aubameyang, who's a 28-year-old centre forward who's quite reliant on pace, then you kind of think, what have we haven't improved our squad for the future. So what are we doing here?
Yeah, I mean, the other name linked is Fernando Llorente, which actually seems like it's pushing close to actually happening.
Yeah, that brought
so
to you
he
from
would have
the
to
year
come
2010.
in. He would have to come in as a backup, which would potentially mean Batshuayi starting as number one first choice. However, I completely agree with you. I think Diego Costa is a phenomenal centre forward, and I think Antonio Conte has f***ed up big time. I think the blame has to be labelled firmly at his feet, sending personal text messages to your players saying you don't want them anymore when you haven't got a lockdown confirmed and signed centre-forward replacement is a massive mistake. He's a 20-goal-a-season striker. He's a bully. Nobody in the Premier League wants to play against Diego Costa.
The one thing the Stars could align on, and this again would be a short-term solution, but if Morata's going to stay at Real Madrid, then he's going to demand to play because he's already been upset about.
You're going to say Karim?
I'm going to say Karim Benzema. If Karim Benzema becomes available, he does everything they need him to do. He is pretty old now, but he would be fantastic for them for 1 or 2 seasons, and then maybe they say in 1 or 2 seasons maybe Tammy Abraham's ready, maybe Batshuayi, I don't know, they loan him out or do something and he's ready then, who knows.
The other name being banded around slightly is that of Belotti, who we mentioned in the previous Italy question, and I'm really not too sure. I think he needs at least 1 more season in Serie A to prove his worth at €100 million buyout clause.
I mean, what do you think?
To be honest, I've seen. I mean, Belotti does look like an explosive centre forward, but yeah, I'd have to agree with you there, Joe. I mean, like I've not really seen enough of Belotti to make me think that he's worth that amount. Like, I mean,
can you see Conte leaving? I can see Conte leaving big time.
Yeah, people are talking about it, aren't they?
2 weeks of the season left. 2 weeks of the window left. I've just got an image of Conte going, "F this, I'm done with this club." It would be. Did it at Juve? Did it at Bari?
It fits the Chelsea story as well, doesn't it? I mean, Chelsea have been full of peaks and troughs over
and then
the last
Chelsea
few years,
end up with Thomas Tuchel, brings back all of the loan players, and then you've suddenly got.
I tell you what, you do a good job.
Really exciting team.
Yeah, you know what? If Conte did leave, then in a way it would be good news for the young players because Thomas Tuchel was fantastic at moulding youngsters. So they might think, you know what, we'll get Abraham back, we'll play Batshuayi this year. You know, they're annoyed they've sold Bertrand Traore, but they've got loads of young talent. Maybe something interesting would happen because Chelsea can't continue stockpiling talent and then just chucking it out on the shit tip as soon as they get bored of them is stupid.
Agreed, but who would be the ideal striker for Chelsea? Is it Costa? Is it Aubameyang? Is it Morata, Belotti, somebody else? Let us know in the comments and in the poll up here and down there, dueling it. So that's all we've got time for on this episode of Sunday Vibes. So make sure you get your questions in for next week's show in the comments right now using the hashtag Sunday Vibes. Or you can send in a video to our Facebook page, Football Daily. Search it on Facebook. It's actually got some good content on there, believe us. Pato, what should they do next on Euro Football Daily?
Yeah, head over to Euro Football Daily, as Joe says, and check out Football Mundial, Continental Club, and of course, Stat Wars, the jewel in the crown.
Yes, just gone live yesterday, actually, I believe.
Sure.
Yeah, and follow Mikey McCubbin on Twitter as well. Let's get them followers up. The eyebrows are worth it alone. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch you next time.